Hello, everybody. Sorry, let me get my camera adjusted. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and I am trying something new today, a new series in a YouTube live, which is one of the first times I've ever done something like this. So I'm excited and nervous, and we'll see how it goes. I am starting a new series, and this one is going to be called Tools of the Trade. And this idea came to me from a good friend of mine who loves all things crafty, just like I do. And she suggested, after coming into my craft room and taking a look around, that there were some craft supplies that she wasn't sure why I had them. And she thought that perhaps I could do a whole series on things in my craft room and how to use them, kind of some of the basic tools of the trade. So I thought that was a fabulous idea. I thought live would be a great way to do that because I could answer some real-time questions that you guys had about some of these supplies and try some things. If you wanted to see me do an experiment, then I could do it in real time. So what I'm going to be doing today is talking about Distress Oxide Sprays. And lots of crafters love Distress Oxide products and really just the Distress products in general because they have so many cool properties, and mostly because they react so well with water. And the Distress Oxide Sprays are no different. They are water reactive, but what's cool about them is they are the oxide formula, which means that they are a dye and pigment fusion. And so when you add water to them, they get this very cool oxidation kind of look. And so that's what we're going to play with here today. I happen to have 12 colors. There are 48 different Distress Oxide sprays. All the colors, well, it's not the whole Distress color wheel, but a lot of the colors. And the cool thing is that they coordinate with all of your other Distress products, which is really neat if you're a stamper or a card maker. That way you can make sure all of your colors are going to coordinate really well together. Let me show you, starting with this one. This is called Victorian Velvet. And when you pick up Distress Oxides, you can probably see it here. They are unmixed. They have kind of a separation thing going on. Now, Tim Holtz says that is not sediment. It's just the two kinds of pigments that have to remix together. It's recommended that you shake side to side on these and not up and down. Rolling them is also another good way. If you shake it up and down, you can tend to see, it can clog up the bottles. I know, Raina, they're so cool. I've always wanted to try them. Like, I've used them, but they're a little bit intimidating. So here is what they do. They work just like any other craft spray. Adding it on here to my first tag that we're doing. And one of the cool properties is that you do get that spray pattern. So if you're wondering, like, why would I need a spray if I already have that Distress Oxide, like if I already have this stamp pads or the ink pads, like why do I need a spray? Well, first off, you get that cool pattern. You can't get that with the pads, and it's just kind of a neat look. I'm going to mix this one. I'm going to add in purple. We all know purple, one of my favorites if you know me. So I'm going to add a little purple here on the side, and I like to get nice and close. Some people get really scared with sprays and they don't just go all out with the sprays, and in my experience, you can always take some off. For instance, if you're like, oh man, that looks super heavy and pigmented, you take a paper towel and it comes right off. Now, as this dries, you can already see how cool it is with the colors mixing. Hi, Nancy, how are you? You can see the colors mixing. It's a very neat effect. Let me add some more color to this one. This is Antique Linen, which is a new color for me that I just picked up recently. Love the vintage kind of feel that comes with these Distress Oxide products. Yeah, and you can just go for it. Add tons and tons of spray. Hi, Carol. Nice to see you. All right, so adding that in. It's just a neat effect. All of the blending happens, and because they are a pigment and dye ink mixed, the colors hold their own. So it doesn't end up like a muddy mess like other sprays do. You can see how this purple is kind of coming up through. Now, This is it before you have even oxidized anything. So before you've oxidized anything, let me grab some water, and I am just going to kind of tap some water on, some big droplets on. And as it works, I'm going to take my dryer. Sorry for the noise of the dryer, but adding a little bit on, you'll see it start to do this very cool oxidizing kind of method. And you see what happens is the colors kind of break down to some of their most basics, and it makes for such a neat effect that you just can't get otherwise. And the sprays are super fun because I think it's fun to get messy in your craft room, which is why I have this nice box here. Look at how cool. You can see it starting on the edges to oxidize. I do. I call it my spray box now. So I luckily just joined the Felicity Jane subscription club, and they sent this box, and it's perfect because it has, I don't know, like a 2-inch, rim around it, and it's perfect for spraying. That way I don't get it all over everything, because normally I would get it all over everything, and then I would have to pull out my, the dry erase. Yeah, this ultimate craft room tool. So that's how I'd clean up everything. But the box comes in handy. It's handy. So there you go. So there you see, that's just the basic oxide spray right there. Let me show you some of the cool things that you can do. Let me get a couple other cards. Now, one technique that I saw from Dina Wakely that helped me a lot with sprays and knowing how to mix the colors is she thought of dividing your space that you're wanting to spray into 6. So think of dividing it in the middle and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And she sprays in those blocks. She picks 3 colors in 2 blocks. So that would be that in there. Let me take the spice marmalade and mix it up again. Add some spice marmalade there, and then let me do squeezed lemonade as the last one. This will be bright. Ooh, that's cool. I like the drippiness. So she says that if you stick with that pattern, like if you're doing an art journaling page or even on your Bible journal, if you stick to that pattern, then it will balance out for your eye, which I thought was an awesome tip, and it's something that I use all the time. So you have that. I'm actually going to mix. I don't have to wait for it to dry. But now I'm going to add some sprinkles of this blue, and this is Mermaid Lagoon. I'm going to press it partway. And when you do it partway, you get, it's a lighter feel. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is pull out my mini mister, and I'm going to start to oxidize some of this. And some of it I'm going to get really close because I like to kind of move the water around. And what I like to do is pick these up and move it. I like the movement that comes from it, and then you'll start to see the oxidation move too. So fun. And I do this all the time. I actually do it in my Bible journal a lot because I like I said, the movement, the dripping, the water. It is a lot of fun. And as you dry it, sorry for this again, for the loud. As you dry it, you start to get some of those very neat patterns. Look at on this one, do you see how intricate some of those lines are? It's just so interesting, and it's just something I think you can't get as effectively with the ink pads. Hey Jen, how are you? Ooh, maybe starting a YouTube channel. That is exciting. Now, one cool property of the Distress Oxides are how they dry. Let me see if I can get this one to dry pretty much all the way. And you'll see that it has a very soft appearance, almost chalky. In fact, it looks like it might be chalky, but I promise it's not to the touch. Because at first, when I was playing with it, I was like, ew, I don't like that feel. Because you know those, like the cheap watercolors, which is what I started out with when I was Bible journaling for the first time. When they dry, they end up really chalky, and I didn't like that feel. in my Bible, but look at how soft that is. I think it is so pretty. Now, layering, you can take this and you can layer more. Again, let's go with purple because I love purple. So I'm going to add some bold purple on here in that corner. And then I think I'll stay away from the walnut. I don't know. Walnut, brown. What do y'all think? I'm not sure about walnut. Let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens when it oxidizes, because sometimes the browns make the coolest oxidation patterns. Now, I'm not going to rinse this one off at all. Let's see how muddy it gets. Starting a little bit down here. But when it dries, see, it's not really that muddy. It looks pretty cool. But that's before it's oxidized. Let's add, I'm actually going to go ahead and take a paintbrush and see. I'm going to add kind of just a watered, let's see how it oxidizes in those patterns. In fact, I'm going to do that pattern other places around my card. This is just water that I'm using. Isn't it cool how it's reacting right there? That is a neat thing you could do, adding your art marks, and then it reacts on here. And you get that soft oxidation look. Dripping a little bit over here. And it's really subtle, but when you're working on art journal pages or Bible journal pages, this is gonna really add a lot of depth and interest to the background. Okay. So you can see down here, it's subtle, the edges, but that's kind of a neat look. It's just another little layer, which is pretty neat, pretty cool. Okay, let's look at watercolor paper. So I have some watercolor paper right here. This half I gessoed and this half has no gesso. And I thought it would be fun to see how it reacts to gesso. It is made for porous materials or porous surfaces because it wants to soak in. So the gesso kind of covers up the watercolor paper and it should have it sit on top a little bit more, maybe some more movement. This time I am going to stick with some brown. Okay, let's experiment. Brown, let's do vintage photo, peeled paint, and antique linen. And I'm going to try to do the same kind of patterns on here on both sides, and we'll see what it looks like gesso versus no gesso. And I am being really generous with the spray because too light and it just doesn't quite make the same impression. Kind of looks like camo, doesn't it? A little bit. You know what? I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to go with the walnut. I forget if that's the one I did first. I'm going to add a little bit of walnut. And I'm just taking off the top and doing some drops, which is another way to do some bigger droplets. All right. So that is pretty well saturated and you can see right off. I'm going to lift up the whole box. But do you see how over here it has soaked in and you see a lot more kind of speckling pattern? And then right over here, it's very smooth because it's moving more freely on the page. So that's kind of a neat effect. You can pick which one you are going for because you might want the smoother look. To me, this kind of looks like wood, like almost like a wood grain, the way it's kind of running. And like I said before, this is very speckled. If you come back in with paper towels to kind of dab some of it up, that is going to smooth out. You don't totally see that speckling, but if I had left it there to dry and not messed with it, then it would have just stayed in that speckling. And let's see how this one, ooh, look at how orange came out of that one. Okay, so this side, look how that reacted differently. That almost looks like different colors right there. And then when we oxidize it, let me grab my mister. All right, when we oxidize it, oh man, your mister is always out of mist right when you need it. Well, let me do this. Let's just do some big spurts of water. again, you start to get that change, that oxidation. Now, when I saw Tim Holtz doing this, he recommended not using the heat gun. He says that the oxidation, when it occurs naturally, has more depth to it. So I am super impatient, so I rarely want to wait because I'm always working on another project or multiple projects. So usually I just hit it with the heat gun. I'm a rebel and I just do it that way. But if you have the patience to let it dry, Tim Holtz, who designed the whole Distress line, says that letting it dry, I love this. Look at how cool those are. Look at the patterns. That is very cool. Yeah, I'm not patient either, Melissa. Like, that is not my forte, but you can still see a difference. See how you can still see some of those gesso lines underneath it? It's definitely sitting on top of the gesso. And this is just from the other side. Of course, it doesn't bleed through watercolor paper, but you're probably wondering, does it bleed through your Bible? And I'm sure most of you that are Bible journalers already know the answer to that. And of course, the answer is yes. It's going to go straight through a Bible page. And let me show you. So this, let me dry it off. This is from the back of my illustrating Bible. There's several extra pages in the back that you can kind of play with and see how products react. So let me just add some here in the corner to my illustrating Bible. We'll kind of put it, kind of dry it over here. It soaks it right in because, of course, that's a porous surface. And then you'll see it go straight through. Okay, let's see. Yeah, see, it's going to go straight through. But if you gesso, let me show you. I have a little bit of gesso right here. And this one, I'm going to have to put the gesso on and then wait and let it dry. I have used it before directly in my Bible, and you can keep it from bleeding. So what you're going to want to do is use 2 layers of gesso. So I do 1 thin layer. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to move it over. You guys remind me, I'll come back and add another thin layer and show you it can go in your Bible, and it does work really well. The thing you want to do is protect the rest of your Bible. So what I do is I get wax paper or parchment paper. I keep this in my craft room because I don't actually bake real cookies, as my mom can tell you. So the gesso doesn't seep through your Bible page. No, it is wet. So if you have things that are water reactive on the opposite page, they will react. So be careful what's on the opposite page. But it won't necessarily seep through multiple pages. So I pull out my wax paper and parchment paper and like block off all the other areas of my Bible. So this one is drying somewhat. I'm going to add another, oops, I already got some on it. Okay, well, we'll aim for parts where I didn't get ink on it already. Adding another layer right here. And then we'll let this dry. Oh, you know what? It's because I set it over here and it went straight on top of that. We'll let this dry. I'll put it over to this side where there's no material. And then let me show you a couple of other techniques. Let me work on some more watercolor paper. Any color requests that you guys wanted to see? I'm going to try a couple of different blues, I think. Let me see. Hi, Lenora. How are you? Y'all let me know if my volume is okay. This is all new for me, so I don't want to be like yelling at you guys. So fun. And Twisted Citron. This is a fun color. This is one I don't get to use very often. It is vibrant. All right, let me end this one with some squeezed lemonade. So Melissa, what I do is try to stay with colors that are adjacent on the color wheel. So I'm either going to go with cool colors or warm colors. So I tend to do blues and greens together, and then I do pinks and oranges and like pink, orange, and yellows together. Now some of the colors, oh, look how cool that is looking. Some of the colors like purple are a little bit tricky, and I don't know what it is about how they formulate purples in the craft world, but it is a tricky color. And sometimes if any color is going to get muddy, it's going to be purple. Look at the cool drips. Oh my goodness, I'm loving this one. Anyway, Melissa, what I do is I try to stick to warm colors or cool colors. I mean, I added yellow into this one because that citron green was kind of like a gateway color. It had some yellow in it, so I thought it would come together pretty well. Let me dry this, and then let's play with water on top of it. Now, something I like to do when I am working in my art journal or in my Bible journal and I'm not necessarily wanting to spray straight in my journal is I will have fun and I'll spray these pages and then I will cut embellishments out of them. And I'll show you guys that in just a second because it is super fun and it is a surefire way that it won't bleed through because well, you know what, Melissa? These sprays, especially these oxide sprays, are really great for not making mud because some of the other sprays that are just the dyes, they mix together more easily. Look how that is softening up. It is so pretty. Let me show you a little technique. When you have the pooling together, like if you see down here, I just take a little corner and it soaks it right up. And I don't have to do anything drastic. Right here, just little bits to soak up some of the extra liquid. And you can do that if you have a drip that has gone too far, which sounds like a plumbing problem, but you know what I mean. Like a drip that's just too much. I love, love, love this. This is making me super happy. I want to add a color on top of it before I oxidize. And I think I'm going to go with purple. Anyone? I'm going to see what the purple does. I think I'm going to do my splatter again. Be really careful that you don't knock over your whole thing because I would imagine this would kill carpet. Just a guess. Yeah, I like the purple too, Nancy. I wish Gail were here. Gail is my purple soulmate with By the Well Forgot. Okay, got my purples and I'm going to hit those with the heat tool. I know, right? Yay for paper towels. Look at this one. Sometimes paper towels end up pretty. This one is not so pretty. All right, let's get this one. I know, right, Nancy? We're the purple lovers, me and Gail. And you know what? I think Lori loves purple too, so I think she's in there with us. Okay, now I'm going to hit it with some water, and I'm going to do some big splatters this way. And then I'm going to lift it up and do that same diagonal feel and come this way. And the cool thing is it'll add another layer in the oxidized form. Oh, look how cool. Look how cool it looks. Neat. This is like, I could sit here and do this I won't keep y'all here for an hour, but I could sit here and do this. And that's what I do is I play with colors and patterns and I make a bunch of pages and then I use them in my art journaling in some different ways. So while that's drying, let me show you an example of what I do. So my new favorite stamp set is this one from By the Well Forgot. It's the Elemental Alpha and it actually came out last month, but I love the outline of the letters because I use them all the time when I am Bible journaling or art journaling, and I love that you can see through them. So what I might do is, let's pick the word love. Oh, it does look under the sea. Oh, it totally does. Can you imagine like mermaids? Oh my goodness, I would totally do that in an art journal. Very Jane Davenport with mermaids and stuff. So I'm going to spell out the word love right here with these awesome stamps right here. And actually, I'm going to turn it this way. What do y'all think? I like it this way. And I'm going to use VersaFine ink. And this is a pigment ink and it is permanent, so it won't react with water. So if I decide to come add more oxidation on this, then I wouldn't have to worry about the ink running. So I'm inking up my stamp really well. Sorry, that's a little off camera. And then I'm going to just stamp it. I'm going to try down here. It's still a little bit wet. You prefer blue violets to red violets, like with red tones in them? Is that what you're talking about, Lenora? And then I'm gonna try to really right here, right in the middle. So what I would do is come in with my precision scissors and I would cut out these parts right here. And I might cut it out in a block because I really like the colors around it, or I could cut out each individual letter and it kind of gives you some cool dimension. You could cut it out and then glue it back on top of your picture and you have this depth building, which is super fun. I totally see. Now I'm stuck on the mermaid thing. Look, you see, this is her face and her hair like trailing off, and this is her tail, like her body and her tail. Okay, I'm gonna save this one because I suspect that this will become an art journal page for me because that would be very cool. I'm with you, Lenore. I think I like the violets that have a little bit more of the blue in them, for sure. Okay, let me show you, oh, stencils. This is a great way to use these. So let me pick a new piece of paper. I'm gonna choose this stencil. This is one I picked up this summer. Let me see what company it's from. The Crafters Workshop right here. And I love, love, love this stencil. I'm going to use some pixie spray, which is my new favorite tool in my craft room. So you spray your stencil like this. I'm going to spray it up here so it doesn't get on my paper. Spray it. I fan it off for just a second so it's not too sticky. And then you stick it down to your page and it sticks super well. It does not leave a residue. I'll wash the stencil because you'll see it'll get crazy, but it doesn't leave a residue on the paper, which is super awesome. All right, I'm going to let's do some warm colors this time. Let's go back to pinks and I'll try to make a little color wheel right here. Oh, that would be a cute Happy Mail. Yeah, these would be fun to play with for Happy Mail. Are you kidding? You could do pages and then like cut it in bookmark shapes and that would be super, super fun. I'm going to add in some oxidation and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try something different. So I'm going to oxidize in some layers with the stamp. So I'm going to oxidize there and I'm going to come and drag it out over here. And I truthfully don't know what'll happen. Maybe this might be too trying on that pixie dust. But keep it like that. Before I lift it up, I'm going to try to dry it off some because I'm afraid it will just immediately run under Lenora. It does look like the 60s. Super cool. I love this. This is my favorite color scheme right here. This is the one I use most in Bible journaling. And then this is the color scheme I use most in art journaling. So I don't know what that says, but that's just how it ends up for me. All right. I think it's drying on the paper. I'm going to get an old paper towel and kind of just make sure the stencil's not too wet. All right. I think it needs to be dry because it was pretty saturated. I feel like if I lifted the stencil right away, even just the liquid that was on top of the stencil would bleed underneath. So let's see what happens, how it did. Ta-da! So a little seepage under here, probably wasn't totally dry, but look at how cute that is. I love, love, love that. That is so fun. Okay, yeah, this one's a keeper. And let's see if we can see. Yeah, if you look really close, you can see some of the oxidation on the inside of these rings. It probably could have used a little bit more water, but the other cool thing is when you oxidize it, that's what really smooths out. And then this is smooth, but you still see the splatter pattern on the part that I didn't add water. That is super fun. Okay, let's try it again. This time I'm gonna try some different paper. I have never done it with black. So let's see what happens with black paper. I'm going to grab a different stencil because that was super fun with the stencil. I'm going to use the pixie spray again. Spraying it on, drying it off. Okay. Yeah, you just don't want it to be super wet right when you put it on. This stencil reminds me of Mario. Love this one. Okay. Let's go with, I'm going to start with Citron. I want to see how it does on this black paper. It should do pretty well and sit on top pretty nicely. Now I'm getting pretty close here, so this might be an issue as I start. Ooh, I see it lifting off of the black. We'll see. I'm going to add another layer. Hold on. Let me try that again. Oh, that was Citron before. Oh man, now I'm just mixing all the colors. Citron and blue and some more purple. Okay, this time let me dry it before I start lifting it off. Because it's water reactive, it's similar to watercolor in that you can end up just lifting it, a lot of it from the page. It is going to go in some because it's that combo. Oh, I see where the stencil lifted up right here. So that won't be as clear. And it's super saturated over here. Okay, I'm going to lift it up before it's all the way dry. Melissa, we'll see what happens. Oh, that's cool. That's super neat. Now I have to find a place to put my stencil. Okay, very cool. So it does do well on black, which is fun. Now it's not super crisp, but that's okay. For a stencil, that's not bad. That pixie spray, that's the keeper. I promise you, that stuff is amazing. Now, I wanted to show you a couple more things. This was my experiment this week, and I loved it. I'm going to put down a paper towel because I don't want this piece to get messed up. So this is a piece of vellum, and my idea was that I wanted to use these stamps, and I wanted to stamp them on vellum, but I wanted the vellum to have color. And so I thought, oh my goodness, Distress Oxide Sprays would make such a cool color. And this time I am going to use some of the browns, which is not what I would normally go to. But here's the thing. Vellum is not porous. So this isn't really meant for vellum necessarily. But when I tried it, it worked this week, and it was awesome. It was super cool. Let me add this green. Peeled paint will do pretty well, I think. So peeled paint in here. Now, let me do that. And actually, now I'm just excited. Now I'm going to just use all the colors. I'm going to go back to my drip thing that I was doing before. And now the vellum is curling a little bit because this is a lot of water for vellum to take. But it will dry, and it will create a very cool effect for when you want to then stamp over the top of it. And what you can do for vellum, you're going to want to use Stays On ink. VersaFine won't stay on. Stays on. That's why they named it that. So VersaFine won't stay on. You want to use Stays On ink, which is made for more surfaces. You can see it pulling up here because vellum is not what it's intended for. I know, I do it up and down too, but once you get it on you a few times from up and down, then you start to remember when you start ruining clothing. All right, I'm going to use some paper towels and soak up some of the excess since I was super into my spraying this past time. All right. Now, my vellum that I did earlier in the week, I'll grab it for you. Let me hold on just a second. Let me grab it. Here's the vellum I did earlier in the week, a mix of blue and green, and I let it dry. And how fun will that be to do the stamps over the top of it? And then you have that translucent feel. Can you spray where it doesn't have the donut effect? Yes. Let me see. Let me just show you this vellum first. So fun. Now it looks a little bit like a hot mess, but as it continues to dry, it will smooth out some, and you'll have a very neat piece to cut things out of. All right, let's try one last page. Hold on just a second. Wanted to try some book paper because I know that there are some art journalers and junk journalers out there. Now, I think if you get super close, Susan, that's when you don't have the donut effect. The higher up you get that mist. But when you don't want it, you just fill it in from right there. And this time I'm not going to stay in my color wheel. I'm going to mix. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to go yellow. And part of that is the angle too, Susan, and how you're doing it. Once again, moving it around. Neat. Love the patterns. tons of fun. This is tons of fun to just play with. If you are feeling a little bit stuck creatively and you don't even know what you want to do, sometimes just pulling out supplies like this and playing with them is the most effective thing that you can do, because it just kind of gets your brain out of its norm. Because I'm normally doing a little bit cleaner, a little bit more precise, I guess you might say. But I love, love, love when I get to play with things like this and kind of go out of my comfort zone. Here, definitely will inspire you. Hey, let me know, do y'all have any more questions as we're kind of like wrapping up here and this page is finishing? Has anyone tried these before? The sprays, the Distress Oxide Sprays. Yeah, they're super fun. If you're interested, I do have them linked in the show notes or in the video notes. So check them out if you haven't picked them up. I picked mine up at Hobby Lobby, and I picked some up at I went to a scrapbook expo this summer, and they actually had it they were selling it by the individuals. At Hobby Lobby, they sell it in the sets of 2. And they only have a limited number of colors. On scrapbook.com, you can buy them individually, so you can pick out your favorite colors. And look how fun. Now, let me show you one last thing. One of the coolest parts of the Distress Oxide sprays are when you mix them with other sprays. So this is the Dilutions Shimmer Spray, and these haven't been used in a while. Look at all that sediment there down at the bottom. So this might take a little bit to mix up, but it's cool when you get to mix it with others, because then you really start seeing a lot of dimension and depth. Now this is the one, I know I have to do it sideways because this one really will get clogged. So let's add some squirts of this through. Now this won't have the same chalky effect and won't oxidize in the same way. I think mostly whenever you have that nozzle, there's always, Melissa, there's always the chance that it's going to get clogged. And so generally on the bottle, it'll say to shake it side to side. Look at, oh my gosh, I want to try this. So that's, just a way to keep it from getting clogged. If it does get clogged, you can clear it out. And I feel like what you can do is you unscrew it. Am I thinking that right? Is anyone tracking me on that? You unscrew it and take it out, and you like spray it upside down to kind of clear it out and get air in there, if I'm thinking that correctly. Okay, so now let me show you an up close. Look at the combination up top of that shimmer spray. So look at that. It's snowing, Lenora. Is it really? That's crazy. I haven't tried alcohol pearls yet. I haven't really used a lot of alcohol ink. I have some of Jane Davenport's ink, which is alcohol ink, and I haven't played around with it enough. So that's definitely one that I want to play with and do another one of these kind of tools of the trade series. But look how fun that is. And you start to see, if you can look at those cool, sorry, it's out of focus. Look at those neat patterns that are made when you combine the sprays. So fun, so fun. Okay, I think that is it for me. Let me check my list and make sure we did all the different, oh, I didn't get to do craft paper. Y'all want to see a craft tag? These are my least favorite. I'm not great at working with craft paper, but this does do pretty well on craft paper. That one kind of reacted funny. This one might have a coating on it. This tag probably has a coating on it, which is why it's reacting like that. Yeah, that one didn't soak in quite as well. Look at that. Lenora, I can't believe it's snowing there. That's amazing. That's awesome. Go get some hot chocolate, stat, and curl up with a book. Look at that. That's cool though. Look at how it made that effect with the towel. Someone also once told me to save all your paper towels when you're playing with sprays, because then you can cut them and use them as collaging on your you know, in your art journal. Yeah, that one's more subtle. I feel like I need a little bit more on it. Y'all are probably like, she's crazy. I need some more. When in doubt, add purple, right? That seems like a good idea. And shimmer. Why not? Ooh, ooh. There we go. Now we're talking. All right, let's see how this one does when I lift off a little bit of the color. Yes, look at that. So fun. Sorry, I'm bringing it out of the light. You can't see. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This was super fun. If you have any requests on supplies you want to see me play with, let me know and send me a message here on YouTube or catch me over on Instagram at Scrappy Wife Blog and just let me know any other supplies that you're interested in. This was super fun. All the supplies I used are linked in the video notes, so you can check those out. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic evening, and as always, keep it creative.